Welcome makers! Today we are doing an in-depth tutorial on making the tea leaf base for a Tongan Kahoa Lei. These methods can be used with fresh and fake materials. I will link some of my other videos that focus on making the top flower layer of the lei. Today we are going to learn 2 methods to weave the tea leaf base. Leave this video a like and subscribe to our channel for weekly tutorials. In the description box, I will link the twine I use to make leis and some ideas on how to source tea leaf. The first step in preparing my tea leaves is to debone the leaves, meaning I'm going to remove the center stem of the tea leaf. Following the grain of the leaf, I'm going to use my scissors to cut off each side. When cutting off the right side, I use the bone as a guide. To cut off the left side, it's easier for me to flip the tea leaf to the back side and use the bone again as a guide. The front side of the tea leaf is shinier. It will be harder to tell the front from the back when the leaves are softened, so we're going to take note of the texture of the front and back. Before we go over softening the tea leaf, I want to show you some photo comparisons. I do not always soften my tea leaf. There are a few main reasons I would skip this step. First is if I'm short on time. The finished leis with fresh tea leaf and softened tea leaf will turn out very similar. This example on the left is with fresh tea leaf and the right is with softened tea leaf. The second reason is if I don't have very much tea leaf. You can get away with using 6 to 8 leaves with fresh tea leaf. I always plan for 8 to be safe. If you soften the leaves, you will need 10 leaves for an adult-sized lei. The third reason I would not soften tea leaf is if I feel like the finished lei will look better with the color of the fresh tea leaf. There will be a lot of variation of the green color of your tea leaf based on factors like where your tea leaf was grown, how old it is, and the size. Softening the tea leaf will darken it slightly. Here's an example of a lei that I felt like the color combination of the finished lei would look best without softening the tea leaf. Lastly, I only soften my tea leaf if it is fresh. The tea leaf I used in this video was left over and about 3 weeks old, so it had some spots that were starting to darken. Any spots on the fresh tea leaf will turn brown and not look as good when they are softened. For the sake of this video, I will still show the process of softening tea leaves. I am bundling my tea leaf halves to make it easier to soak in the hot water. There are several methods for softening tea leaves like microwaving them, ironing, and boiling them. I've had the best results with using boiling water. We're not softening the leaves completely like we would when we make a tea leaf rope or a maile style lei. We just want to soften them so that they are more malleable for weaving. I'm using hot water from my kettle and pouring it in a pot. Add in your tea leaves for 60 to 90 seconds. I am wrapping my tea leaves in a towel to pat off some of the excess water. Now I'm going to cut my tea leaves into parallelogram-like shapes, again following the grain. Like we did earlier, I will turn some of my pieces and cut from the backside so I can follow the grain of the leaf. For size reference, my individual pieces are about 10 inches long tip to tip. I would say I cut mine on the long side. You can cut your pieces shorter. I would recommend anywhere from 8.5 to 10 inches. This is the twine I use for all of my leis. I will link it on Amazon. You may also be able to find it at an Asian market in the household aisle. For an adult lei, I'm going to cut 3 strands of twine 5 to 6 feet long. All of the leis will start and end the same. We are tying our 3 strands in a knot and braiding 3 to 4 inches, which will be used to tie on the lei. I'm using 3 colors of twine to help me demonstrate visually, and it may be helpful when you're trying this out for the first time. I'm going to show you 2 methods, and I would recommend you try the one that looks easier to you. The first method is the more common method. The second method is pretty similar and is how I taught myself. In both methods, the tea leaf sits folded in half on the center twine, with the remaining twine used on the front and back to keep everything in place. For me personally, if I am softening my tea leaves, I will most likely use method 1. If I'm using fresh tea leaves, I will use method 2. We are starting out with blue in the center, red on the right side, and white on the left side. I'm pinching my leaf in the center so my leaf looks like a bow tie and placing it on my center blue twine. I'm pinching it with my left hand, and my red twine will come down the center and my blue will stay on the right side. I'm going to pinch my leaf and red and blue ribbons with my right hand so that I can fold my tea leaf in half with my left hand. Once I fold it down, the white twine will lay on the back side and the white will twist over red. Pull it tight by pulling the red and white pieces of twine. I'm keeping it in place by pinching the tea leaf and red and white twine while I grab my next piece of tea leaf. If you are doing it correctly, the twine showing on the top of your lei will alternate in the pattern red, blue, and white. We'll go over that again. Pinch your tea leaf in the center and place it on your center twine. The right or red twine goes down the center and blue stays on the right side. Fold your tea leaf down and bring the white across and twist it over red. Pull tight. In both methods, I will finish by knotting the twine and braiding 3 to 4 inches for the tie. If you order your tea leaf wholesale, it usually comes in bunches of 10 leaves. The leaf size may vary, but for your larger size tea leaf, you need about 10 stems of softened tea leaf to make an adult lei. If the tea leaf is fresh and not softened, you need about 8 leaves. As I mentioned earlier, this method can be used on fresh tea leaves or softened tea leaves. We're starting in the same position with blue down the center, red on the right, and white on the left. I'm going to pinch my tea leaf, but instead of a bow tie shape, I'm folding it in half long ways and pinching it in the center. Place your tea leaf on the blue center twine. Red will come down the middle of the tea leaf and blue will twist over the red twine, putting us back in our starting position. I'm folding my tea leaf in half and sliding it slightly to the left side. The white twine will come over the front of the tea leaf and down the center. And I will twist blue over white, bringing me back to starting position. I'm pulling it tight by pulling the white and blue twine. If you have done it correctly, your top twine will be white and the back will be blue. Your center twine that the tea leaf is folded over will be red. I always keep clips or clothespins handy when I make leis. These ones are from the Dollar Tree. If you need to stop, clip your twine and tea leaf in place so that nothing unravels. After I weave my desired length of the tea leaf base, I clip it until I sew on my top flower pieces so that I can add or remove tea leaf to make sure my base is the perfect size for the flower part of the lei. Here are samples of method 2 on top and method 1 under it. The finished leis are pretty similar. Let me know what questions you have in the comments, and thanks for watching.